Live!
As is, like.
And we're live!
You might grab my coffee?
Yeah, for sure.
This month.
There you go. Thank you for respecting the tracking. Appreciate that. All right, guys, so as per COVID regulations, we will not be having Logan in today, so he will be back next week.
You don't have to isolate him.
Yeah, it's just, while testing positive.
When did you get this? You don't have to isolate him if he tests positive. As long as you have
Really?
symptoms. As long as you have symptoms.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Man, science. It's just ever evolving. It's been about a week, so yeah, he'll be back next week. We were hoping to be doing a tax training, but because we don't have Logan in today, we're going to hold off on the tax training. And instead, we're going to look at the listing package. I don't know if you guys have spent a lot of time with the listing package. Have you guys had a chance to review it? Yeah? Perfect. So we use this very differently, and I wanted to go over best practices and kind of get into this a little bit more, because when I first started calling, I didn't understand how listing presentations worked. And as I was going through my calling process before I booked appointments, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So by going through this package, we're going to get a better understanding and idea of what a listing presentation is. Like, you guys have obviously already been on listing presentations, but we'll go through it in detail. We'll talk about best practices and we'll get ourselves ready to be going out and meeting more sellers. Cool. So before we dive into the package and before we sit down with the sellers and discuss what our services are to them, there are a couple of things that we like to do ahead of time to kind of get ourselves prepared to tell the people that we're meeting with who we are. Can we go over some of the best practices really quickly? What are some of the things that we're to do before we sit down and start talking about ourselves with sellers?
Introduction.
Introduction what? We ring the doorbell and?
You say, hi, my name is Connor Lovell. We booked something online, or I don't even know, but that's how.
I'm here for the appointment. And what do you do when you meet them for the first time? What are you supposed to do?
Shake their hand. No, COVID regulations say that you shouldn't shake hands, so maybe a fist bump.
You're supposed to give them something. What are you supposed to give them?
Business card.
Your business card. The Reba states we are actually supposed to still give out the business cards. Cool. So now you've given them the business card. You walk in the front door. What now?
Take off your shoes.
Sure, that's just breathe.
Step by step.
Take a couple of breaths. Why not? What else?
Put your bag at the
Have a smile on your face?
Smile on the face is good. So what Alex was talking about was great. I think when you first enter the home, you have the ability to capture the setting of where you're going to be doing your presentation. And that's going to be really important. There's a huge difference between sitting down at a table in a more upright and attentive setting versus sitting at a couch, right? And sitting across each other in a living room where it's really relaxed and people are a lot more laid back. We don't want that more laid back approach to this because people are more passive when they're in that state. We want people attentive and at the table, ready to move forward with us if everything makes sense and we can get the paperwork started. Getting paperwork started in the living room is a little bit more difficult to do. Cool. So now we've positioned ourselves where we would like to be sitting. Most often it is
Dining room table.
dining room table. Thank you very much. And then once we've put all our stuff at the dining room table, what happens next?
Show me the house.
Show me the house. Cool. And now, give me some dialogue, some example dialogue of what that looks like. Show me that.
No, so I usually going, okay, so I'll sit my back down, give you a quick tour of the home. Feel free to mention anything that you think that's important, all the renovations we've done over the year. And most importantly, I feel that you need to be taking notes when that's happening. Don't just walk behind the seller. I always take notes to show them that I'm paying attention and I value some of the stuff that they're telling me, because I just did my bathroom. It's because they're proud of it, so I write it down to have it also later to put in the seller's declaration in the listing.
So I'm actually just going to note that, take notes. Little things like that we forget about how important they are. Writing things down is key. And being the real estate broker who says, oh yeah, but you mentioned you had the leak underneath the toilet that time, having that additional knowledge that somebody else would have completely spaced on and forgot about, that can give them a lot of confidence, right? And people need to be confident in your service in order for them to work with you, because people want to do business with people who have three things: know,
like, and trust.
know, like, and trust. Perfect. And they can trust you if you're an expert and you show them you're an expert. Cool. So I like the idea of taking notes, and I also like the idea of giving them a reason to give you a home. A lot of times when we go into a home, especially if we're a little bit more nervous, sometimes it just feels like, do you want me to show you the house? Do you want to just take a look through the house? Oh, I don't know, maybe I'll just go look and you sit here, and then you go and look by yourself, and it's like, well, I saw this on the 3D tour, I don't need that. I need to know what you did to the home. I need to know what makes your home special. I need you to sell me your home. Tell me why this is amazing so that I can sell it to somebody else later. Tell them why it's so amazing, right? And that's beautiful, taking notes as you're going through to keep those exciting points. Jason, you got something, what's up?
So you have to show that basically you're in control. You're in control of the situation at the meeting. You control something.
100%. And every personality type is going to be slightly different in how they feel like they're in control. For myself, when I say personality types, I'm talking about the DISC assessment. We'll do trainings about that in the future. We've done them before. But you guys have a general idea of what the DISC assessment is? Perfect. So I'm a higher S type personality. I need structure. So for me, knowing the step-by-step, all of a sudden, I'm in control. If I have that step-by-step down, then I know that I can do it. Yeah, it doesn't matter what happens, it's all in order. And if something derails me really quickly, I know exactly where I need to go to get back to be able to finish what I started, right? Other people, they need to have the stories in their mind. They need to be able to tell people these extravagant stories, and they have it all thought up in their mind of how they're gonna be able to connect because they want people to like them. So, perfect. So we've got to the point where we've toured the house.
Just a real quick question before you, like, so when you put your bag down on the dining room table, now you're like just in that awkward stage of like with the client. Do you have you want to take initiative obviously and go start, like you want to basically say, let's do this, like sell it to me basically.
It should never be awkward. Like there should always be
Well, yeah.
continuous.
It will, yeah.
But you have to take like initiative to be like, okay, like let's go tour now, because they could just blab on about random stuff forever, and then.
That's it, yeah. And you're gonna see everybody's different, right? So you will get some people who are gonna want to jump right into sitting down, okay, show me what you got, like show me what your offer is or whatever it's gonna be. Or they're just gonna want to chat with you about, oh yeah, my bike is in the corner, I got that from Brad Pitt, it was a weird thing, but let me tell you the story. And okay, well hold on, why don't you tell me the story while you tour me around the house, Taking initiative like that. So being more of the guide in that situation, not like forcing things to go a certain way, but just close the door so that they have to go that way, right?
Respecting their personality types.
Exactly. Being a contrasting personality type is not going to help you in this situation. So understanding who you're working with, and that's why we do the DISC, right? And that's why we study the DISC, because we want to see who it is we're working with, so we have a better chance to connect with them. If we connect with them, they're going to get to know us better, and they're going to get to like us better. And we need them to trust us afterwards, and then we've got this in the bag. Yeah. Cool. So we're done the tour now. We've gone around the house. They told us about the leak from the faucet, the soffit that had it back up, and there was like a little leak thing. And you learned about the toilet thingy. And now we're at the end of that. And what do? We're in the basement.
Sorry, throughout the whole time you're building rapport and then building expertise.
Excellent. Can somebody give me an example of a situation when you're touring the home where you could build rapport?
Logan's classic, seeing guitar and asking about it.
Thank you, Alex. Building rapport.
Friendship, relationship, sorry.
Oh, like our rapport. Like in French?
I mean, same thing.
It's the same
Okay,
thing.
because I was trying to think of it in French so I could understand it, because I thought it was like a report.
Yeah, so to Alex's point, as you're touring through the home, this is a great time to get to know the person that you're going to be working with, and to get them to
Pay attention to little things that you see, like if there is a guitar, bring up like you said, oh hey, there's a guitar, do you play, like stuff like that.
Yeah. Can you give me another example?
If I see a picture of a soccer player in their house, they're a European family, they have a picture of Ronaldo. I would assume that they're Portuguese, but first I'd ask if they're Ronaldo fans.
Yeah, Portuguese.
Very detailed, but yes, I like it.
Okay.
I like it. Jason, give me an example of building rapport when you're touring the home.
It's basically for me like anything that I can see that I have confidence in the house, I can attach myself with, I can use for my advantage to try and get,
Can you give me an example?
I have a baseball player. I play baseball. What do you like in baseball? You know, what's your favorite team?
Nice.
Blah 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 blah.
Very
If
cool.
it's hockey, if it's soccer, if it's a piece of clothing that I see, where did you get the clothing? Fucking anything.
Nice. Very good. Excellent. Anything that we can do to build rapport, to kind of take the pressure off of the situation, to make it a little bit more comfortable for everybody. Right, so now we're done. We've now chatted them up about that piece of clothing that we saw, or the Ronaldo poster, or whatever it might have been. We've done our expertise, we've seen all the different things inside of the home, we've taken notes, and we're standing there in the basement looking at the furnace, and this was the last room we needed to be in. What do we do? Throw up.
Throw up with their shoes.
Just throw up right there.
The wire is there for the heat pump.
You're done.
No, you're done. You did that already. You know
Yeah,
that.
you go back to you go back to where you left your stuff. Like,
Yes. How do you get there?
all right, let's get the show on the road. So let's go back upstairs and we're gonna go over a few things, and I'll follow you.
Excellent.
Be as blunt, yeah.
Excellent. Sometimes you don't even need to say anything. You just start walking that way as you're talking about Ronaldo.
Sometimes I act as if I have something to give them, and I was like, "Let me give you something," and then they open their hand. Well, let's go upstairs.
Oh, what's this? Oh, hold my hand. Let me take you upstairs. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so we get upstairs and we get to the dining room table. We sit down. They offer you a glass of water.
Always take it.
Thank you. Good. So now they go and they get the glass of water. You're talking about Ronaldo the whole time. They bring the glass of water back. They give it to you. What now? Throw up.
Oh.
Yeah, you throw up. Get the nerves out.
Or you go with your opener. The opening statement is, I have a few of them. I have actually, sometimes I'll do a combination of two.
Okay.
So I always like to start, is there any questions? Is there anything that you'd like for me to address? Did you have anything in mind, anything that's important to you before we start? Not that I'm going to answer it then and there, but I'll write it down and I'm like, okay, perfect, we'll get to that in a bit.
Cool. Gone forever and it's back. Cool. So yeah, preparation for your presentation. This is key. You might have it built up in your mind that you're so excited to talk to them about our database of 9,000 potential buyers for their home. You might have that preconceived notion that that's going to be the most important thing for them. But in reality, all they really care about is that because they have a huge lot. And the last person that they were talking to didn't do that. And that was why they X'd them out. And that's not what's going to be important to them. And if drone photos are important to them, what else is going to be important to them? Everything techie that we do. If they like cool tech gadgets, now all of a sudden prepared ourselves for how we're going to use our presentation. We're going to focus on all the cool tech aspects of our services. Exactly. Cool. So now I love that. Get yourself prepared for what you're about to go through in this listing presentation. And as we go through the listing presentation, you're going to realize this isn't designed for you to use front to back and read like a book.
No, it's not.
It's really not. It's meant for just a physical and visual aid for you to just jump to the things that are most important for that specific listing presentation. And with time and as you get more comfortable with it, you'll become more efficient with this. And it's just going to really be a tool that you can just pop out and it gives them something tangible and physical to hold on to follow along with. Cool. So now you figured out what's important to them. And what do you do next? What's important?
To me, expectation of outcome. I always ask them, so if everything makes sense, is there any reason why we couldn't get started today?
Excellent.
I need to know right away.
So that I would give a dependent in that situation, but I also like seating. So that is something that could be a through line, seen throughout.
Mm-hmm.
If you're coming in and you're meeting with somebody and you told them that you were meeting with them just to give them a quick home evaluation, and it was really just to give them an idea of the value of the home, and there's no pressure, don't worry, we're not going to even talk about contracts or anything like that, and then at the end of your presentation you pull out a contract, they're like, oh, what? You told me that I was safe here, right? And now all of a sudden there's a contract on the table and they weren't expecting that. But if the whole way through you're saying, hey, if this makes sense, we're good to get started, right? Hey, if what I'm saying makes sense, at the end, we'll get the paperwork going, we'll get the home sold. Sweet. If we're doing that the whole way through, when we pull out the contract at the end, oh, so I guess everything made sense. Okay, yeah, I guess we're gonna start doing this now. Yeah, and they're prepared for it in their mind. So I do like that as a through line, and if you haven't done it at that earlier, at the end of the tour or during the tour, then I would definitely bring it up here before you start going to. Cool. So now we've got ourselves nice and prepared for our presentation. We've prepared the client for what our expectations are from the presentation. What do we do now?
Throw up. Sorry.
First, get the nerves out. It's tense. If you throw up first, then they're comfortable to throw up.
Yeah.
It's good. And then if you both threw up together, now you have a bond. All right? And that's a bond that cannot be broken. Okay? Try not to throw up. It's not going to go over well. That usually doesn't go over well. Sometimes maybe it will. But yeah, we want to start the presentation. So once we found out what they wanted, right, what's important to them, when we start our presentation, what do?
Go through the.
We jump right to it. There's nothing else that's important to go over before we go to it.
Numbers.
Numbers could be what's important for them.
What was the question?
So we know where we want to go with the presentation.
Yeah.
And now we're starting our presentation. To start our presentation, what do?
Present yourself.
Exactly. What's important to them is great, and we're going to get to that. But we don't want to just throw it out there right away and have that be the beginning of our presentation, and then all of a sudden, we jumped the shark already, and now we're telling them who we are, and they're like, well, I don't even care about you. I care about the drone. Does it have a name? How high does it fly?
Lucas.
It's what was the drone's name? I named it.
Oh.
Eddie?
Margaret.
It wasn't Lucas.
Margaret.
It was Eddie or something. Anyways,
Eddie.
I did name it, and I spoke with the client about it at a presentation with the name once. It was a good time. No, I think the important thing at the beginning is if you want to go over what you're going to be doing step by step, you can go through the content of the package and just say, hey, listen, so I'm just going to give you a brief overview of what we're going to talk about today in terms of our services, and then we'll look at the value of your home. So you can prepare them step by step what the presentation is about to be. So I usually like to get them prepared for that, just a vague overview of what we're going to be going over. And then immediately start talking about who we are, right? So what's different about us? What makes us special? And for each person, that's going to be slightly different. For the portion about the team, that's going to be pretty general. So can somebody give me their version of just introducing the team to somebody? You're sitting down and closing presentation? Benji!
So how do I do this? Usually, I tell them that under EXP you have Montreal's real estate group, and this is a team out of the West Side. What's good about that is, although you're only seeing me, but you have the backing of a whole real estate office to help get you listings. So, not that you'd be involved with this guy, but just in case they have a bar, they have this and that, and you get it's buy one get a ton more for free.
Yeah.
I'm like, that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, something like that.
Excellent. And then you can talk a little bit about yourself and what's special about working with you specifically as a realtor, right?
Yeah. I'm sexy. I'm tall.
There you go. And as long as you're sexy and you know it, you'll be able to get this done. Excellent. Can somebody else give me their brief introduction, just an elevator pitch of EXP and the team? Connor!
I've never been. I've never done it.
That exactly. You don't
That's
read
it.
it. Don't read it.
No, I okay.
Top of your head.
Well, I work with this great company called EXP Realty that just allow us to do a multitude of things, and one of those things is work in a team. called Montreal's Elite Real Estate Group, and our team is full of hungry brokers who are gonna help not only you but us sell your property. And we have a multitude of other ways of marketing that we can do for your property that can help it sell. And then I go into a basic. I try to transition that into certain oh, we have this that allows us to follow a boss that has.
Yeah, it's a great way to transition into your next piece, which will be what was important for them, right?
I mean, it depends on who the client is, but I definitely attack it at different angles after I mention the team.
The most important thing about the team actually that I really say is the experience. Because I like to go on the fact that Jim has been in business for 30 years. And I always tell my clients, real estate, you don't learn anything in school. It's a job that you learn on the job. And the more that you do, the more you learn. So I don't know everything. But chances are somebody on this team has been into that situation, and I can always give them a call and get advice from them. Or see, these two here, they started this team 30-something years ago, so I can always reach out to them if it's something I don't know. Chances are they might be able to give me an answer.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So a couple of things that are really important is we want to be able to show expertise, like you were mentioning, right? And this is a great place for us to be able to pitch a section of our unique selling proposition. What's the benefit of EXP for clients, right? Well, one of the things that I love to pitch is that EXP is a cloud brokerage. If they don't know what that is, they're not tech savvy, that just means that there's no actual physical real estate brokerage building. So we don't have to pay the overhead expenses for the office rent. We don't have to pay for the coffee fee. We don't have to pay for the receptionist at the front desk. All of these things that would cost a lot more money for us. Well, now we don't pay that. So what we do is we put that back into our services. That gives us a lot more money to work with to be able to market and sell properties. That's huge for the sellers, right?
Right.
That's a big deal, a big difference. And then on the additional side to that is I work with a large real estate team, one of the largest real estate teams in the West. And that gives me the ability to work with 14 active real estate brokers who pitch into systems that would be too expensive for a single broker to use by themselves. But because we all work together, we now have access to those systems as well. That's also going to make a massive difference in how much we're going to be able to do to get your home sold, right? So these are different benefits that we can add with the team section of the listing presentation and with EXP. Getting a call. Cool. And then after that, once you've talked about EXP, the team, you can give a little pitch about yourself too, little things that that might have been once again important to them to talk about. You know, so some of the things, if they were saying, well, my last broker that I worked with never got in contact with me, you can be talking to them about how, you know, you love to just keep in touch and how important it is that if there's nothing to say, sometimes that's all that needs to be said, but it still needs to be said. If I have no news for you, I want to call you and let you know that I've got no news for you. But that's still giving us a little bit of information. Sometimes, yeah. And then we'll go over the data on the Centris and all of our tracking software to be able to see what's happening with your listing, to have a better idea of what we're going to be needing to do to get your home sold. In this market, it's slightly different. Homes usually sell pretty quickly. If they don't sell pretty quickly, then we have a pretty good idea of why they're not selling. Either there's a really big problem with the home or it's been overpriced. Cool. Now we've talked to them about who we are, and we've talked to them about who we personally are, our team, our brokerage. Where do we go next?
Numbers.
Numbers is the next part of the package, but we go to whatever was important to them, right? So we want to do the introduction, we want to do the middle, and then we want to do the end, right? So the next part would be whatever would be important to them. So if they are numbers oriented and numbers are important to them, then the next page is numbers. So can somebody give me just a brief rundown of our numbers? If you were to talk to somebody with a higher C-type personality, where numbers would be really important for them to be able to move forward, can you give me a brief resume of our numbers? Severo.
Just a little resume of our numbers, ma'am. We're one of, like as I said before, we're one of the largest teams in the West Island, and last year we sold approximately 176 homes. Also, Our our houses sell in an average of 6 days, which is 90% faster than most listings sold in the area. And what's great about working with us is that you'll actually make more money just working with us, because as opposed to the Quebec average of selling to listing price of 96%, we actually get an average of 99.8%. So already there, the difference that will get your home sold is almost a commission that you're going to be paying.
Excellent. Very good. Yeah, I think being able to look at all of the numbers and come to a point where we are the difference of the commission is huge, because that's one of the biggest objections that we get, right? So the numbers is a great place to be able to do that. I love that you took the numbers and then found a way to make it a benefit to a pitch, right? Awesome. Very good. Jason. Jason, give me another numbers pitch really quickly.
Our team sold over 176 homes last year. The average was on the market for 6 days. I don't know.
Is it really?
No,
Are you excited about this?
Never
Not exciting?
It's not exciting, it's just another day.
It's just numbers.
This is 176 sales, no big deal.
I'm interviewing you.
You know what? I don't know if I want this anymore. Good. What's the benefit to our team having sold 176 homes last year?
Well, it's more than the average agent.
Sure. Why is that a benefit though? Hold on, I'm just gonna.
Why is that a benefit? Because we're 176 homes we sold last year, so it shows that we take care of business and we're active and we're not just sitting around and like you're not.
What? What? No. What it also shows is that anything that we say from that point on, it has statistical value. We didn't just sell 2 homes and get very lucky and sell them both over asking price right away, right? We sold a bunch of homes in a bunch of different areas. So our strategy works, right? What we're doing actually has an impact and an effect because we're seeing it with statistically relevant data. It's okay. That's what we're here for.
It's okay. Well, okay, so
I'll be.
what I was gonna say is with the amount of homes that we sold being 176 and more last year, is we basically dealt with a lot of possible known situations, so we know how to handle every home to its right way of being handled. I don't know. That's what I was.
Yeah. So when I was a newer broker, I initially had started out as an administrative coordinator. So as an admin for a team of our size, I saw every single file that came through my desk, just like Alex does. You guys don't even know it. Alex is the best real estate broker we have.
Why that's the question?
So she knows it all because she sees it all. I was in the same boat. I saw it all. And whenever I didn't know something, I can go to Jim. And whenever Jim and I both weren't certain about something, I would go to the OACIQ and I would ask them. There's Sinbad articles that I would just read. So I think that's great. Seeing hundreds of files pass through your desk, seeing that much activity, that was one of my biggest pitches, even when I was a newer broker. I've seen this many files pass through my desk. There's not anything that I haven't seen in one way or another. And if I haven't seen it, I know exactly where to go to find out how to deal with it. So this is going to be smooth, right? I just had a situation where one of the trusses in the roof was broken and the building inspector was panicking because that's a structural problem with the home. Oh my God, a structural problem with the home. Now all of a sudden we've got a huge problem. How much do you think that cost to fix?
$1,000.
It was $1,121, yeah, to fix it. But
You saw the receipt.
See, this is what.
the engineer's report was about $1,600. So in total, it's less than $3,000. So, yeah, it's
But you knew how to deal with it because you already had a situation.
already dealt with it.
And now Severio can know because he knows John has already dealt with something. So he's like, wait a second.
If you hit that problem at a building inspection, you can call me, right? And then I can direct you inside of the drive to all of the receipts. So when I was there, I just pulled out receipts and I went directly to the buyer. And they were like, oh, this is going to be, you're going to have to get an engineer in here and they're going to have to come do a whole report. It's going to be a big thing.
No.
Actually, I've dealt with this already. It really wasn't that bad. Here are the receipts from the last time I dealt with it. Boom. And then all of a sudden the buyer was like, oh, okay, that's not a big deal. You're gonna fix this? You're gonna figure it out? Cool. Because I've already done it before. I know. It took us less than a week to figure it all out. So having that story, being able to talk about the numbers and talk to an I that way, an interpersonal person who needs a story, having that story can make the difference between you and another real estate broker who doesn't have that story, who doesn't talk about things at the building inspection. Go
Are
ahead.
we allowed to use that story?
Take it.
Exactly.
Just my colleague.
Thanks.
We're colleagues. Cool.
Would you say something like I don't know, like obviously 90 is good, but in this market, it should be more, right? It should be like over 100%.
Well, I think the problem,
Like what I wanted to go with is like basically any broker could just take a listing and underprice it and get obviously multiple offers on it. But we like to give you the option of the strategy of what you want to do. Do you want us to underprice it a little bit so we get multiple offers? Or are you willing to wait a little bit, try out the market and see what you can get?
yeah.
So that's,
I usually use that as a negative because I go by the numbers that's on here. So when it comes to what we get on average, I feel like that's the most positive thing. But I'm like, do you want to be sitting across the person that sells all their listing for 110%, 120%? What does that tell you? That tells you they did a bad job appraising the property. What if you didn't get that one buyer that 1 week and that was going to give you 20K over asking, and you ended up selling it for what you listed it for?
no, that's exactly what I just said.
Okay.
It's like we give them the option of what they want to do.
No, I list a price. I always say, whatever I suggest, my number shows that I'm gonna bring you 99.8% of what I suggest. I don't tell them I'm gonna get them less or get them more. I tell them I know how to do a comparative market analysis. So if I tell you your house is gonna sell for 100,000, I'm gonna bring you 99,800.
But that's the thing.
Is that what you said? Is that what I'm getting? No, because I never like because everybody will say, oh, am I gonna get multiple offers? Am I gonna be like, no, it's because the house is not priced correctly. You don't want above asking. You want somebody that's gonna price your house for everyone to come here and say, this house is exactly what they're asking for.
Well, it's all strategy, right? So it comes down to having the right strategy to get the home sold. If they don't want to go along with the strategy, that's a very different thing than why they're hiring you. But at the end of the day, those numbers do show after that many sales, we're pretty much bang on with where we position our homes on the market, right? And that's going to make a huge difference because if you overprice a home and it sits in the market, what happens?
You go sell for less.
Why?
Lose time, lose money.
What do the buyers start saying?
Oh, you're crazy.
Well, there's something wrong.
What's wrong with the
Yeah.
home, right? The seller must be crazy. What's wrong with the home? This is a bigger problem now. So we can avoid that because what we are telling them from the get-go is the straight goods and we have the stats to prove it.
Man, that just happened to me on Down and Ganny. I listed at 350 and I'm like, this thing's gonna fly, we're gonna get multiple offers. And did I get multiple offers? No, they were all low ball offers. And we're like, but we listed for multiple offers, but we didn't get it.
Yeah.
So that's why I just like to list it for what I know it's gonna sell for, and let's get that offer and get it done.
And I think this goes to over-promising and under-delivering, right? So if you over-promise and under-deliver, then you're gonna have a problem throughout the listing process because there's an expectation. Now, if you're direct about what the possibilities are, right? In this situation, I always talk about the market. We can't predict what's going to happen. We don't have a crystal ball. What we know is that our system works and our strategies do work. And if we follow that, we're going to get to a point where we have enough data to figure out where we need to go, or we're going to have sold the home already.
You kind of take yourself out of it if you emphasize on the numbers.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a great way to be able to lean on the numbers and have them support you, right? But the numbers can be used in a multitude of different ways. Once again, once you've prepared for your presentation, you know how they need to be used, if they even need to be used at all. If you're sitting there with a person who's a higher D-type personality, they're dominant, they're a driver, they want things done, they don't care how they get done, they just want them done. These numbers, you can still go through them, right? But we're not going to spend a whole bunch of time on them. We want them to know that we're the people who get it done, right?
Yeah.
So can we give a, what's it called? A numbers example with a D-type personality?
Yeah. I'd
Benji,
probably go, John.
such a number one. Am I right?
That's okay.
For the people at home, that's an inside joke.
I'd probably do something like John said. We put this on the second page because it's very important, and we like to get out the gate with them. Our numbers show. I always like to say, documentation beats conversation. If you see here 176 transactions last year, that means 176 people trust us. There's no reason why you shouldn't, right? And even in this hot market, our house still sells faster than 90% of the average. So you want to get the job done fast, right? Yeah. And as far as the asking price, we'll go over the comparative market analysis, and the number shows once I give you a price, a suggested price, I can probably sell that property for 100% of that price. Is that good for you?
Nice. Very good. Right to the point with each thing. I like it. The difference there, though, between the first one that you gave, you guys saw that, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much of a difference there
I
was?
don't paint a story. I just go straight and
Just
read
straight
the
to it,
numbers.
yeah.
Are you okay with that?
You want somebody who can get the job done? Well, we did that for 176 people last year,
Yeah.
right? We know how to get the job done, and we did that for 99.8% of the asking price. We know how to price all.
And it's a high eye, you talk about each and every one of those 176 people.
Exactly. You gotta tell the stories. This one time.
Michael, number 135.
Perfect. So the next thing that we have inside of the booklet is our marketing. So once again, being prepared for our presentation is going to determine how we're going to be able to go over this, if we're even going to talk at length. I think it is always important to talk about our marketing because there are things that we do that other people may not do. Can somebody give me an example of something that we do that...
Pictures.
There you go.
And 2022, you have to talk about.
Yeah, I know. Getting actual professional photos done from a professional real estate photographer. Can somebody give me one thing that our real estate photographer does that, being a nerd about photos, that no other real estate photographer does?
Crops out the lighting from
Oh,
the windows and
windows,
makes
yeah.
them look brighter.
He does the HDR himself in Photoshop. It's insane. The photos are exposed at all angles. It is absurd. The photographer that we use is par none one of the best that I've seen.
Ron?
It's incredible. But what's another important thing about photos? What is one of the biggest complaints that people have about professional real estate photographers? They don't look real. They don't
Stretched out.
They don't show the actual size of the space,
Yeah.
right? People want to go to the listing and then walk in and say, "Oh, just like the photos. Thank you for taking good photos."
Yeah, but it's always smaller or bigger. It's never.
With Naor though, I've found that his photos are a lot more accurate.
Yeah.
He spends a lot of time
Ours, that's
yeah.
When it visits, it's never this. They're always smaller.
And I hear from my buyers all the time. They're like, "Man, that kitchen looked huge online."
Why do I waste my time?
That's it. The kitchen's so small in person. It looked like a freaking mansion, and you see it, and it looks giant in the photos. But yeah, in person it's
They
tiny.
took the dining room, they took the kitchen picture from the dining room.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They were further out. What is another thing that maybe somebody else might not do in terms of marketing? 3D tour. Can somebody tell me something that's special about the 3D tours that we do versus 3D tours that somebody else might do?
Compatible with the.
Compatible with the VR. I don't actually know if people use the headsets a lot. What's that?
Yeah.
I don't think so either.
Oh, you can actually walk around.
You can walk through.
Is this like Matterport?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Matterport software. That's huge.
That's cool.
And it's expensive, but it's worth it because at the end of the day, when somebody goes through the home, they're not using the 3D tour to see the home for the first time. They're using the 3D tour after they've already seen the home when they're making choices between which listings they liked, right? And if they can go through the home as if they're walking through it again and remember it and say, "Oh my God, yes, I totally thought about Christmas over here with my kids. I thought about that banister. That's where we were gonna put the garland. Oh my God, now I'm invested in the home emotionally. What do they want for it? Give them 100 grand more," right? So the real estate market is extremely emotional, and having something like that in our tool belt is incredibly important. Can somebody give me one more bit of marketing that we do that somebody else might not do?
Social media.
Media.
Social
The best
social
for
media.
me, after pictures,
Google
is
AdWords.
gonna be the description of the property.
Description of the
I love
property.
to flood the fact that we use a professional writer because you want people to be captivated, to feel that they can walk through the home as they're reading. I'm like, have you ever read a good book? It's not because of the paper it's printed on, it's the words, the way the sentence is formulated. I'm not a writer, therefore I hire a professional to write a beautiful paragraph about your property. And do you know why? Because when we survey buyers, the second most important thing to them after pictures is the description of the property.
Interesting.
And what
Survey says.
That's it. Just like that.
The
what
writer.
I like to say too is it helps after they visit it and they can picture exactly that house again.
Yeah.
So that they're like, oh, what was that house again? They read it and they're like, oh yes, I remember. Like we make it so that they don't need to visit it a second. They remember it on paper after they see it. That's why I like what you said.
What else? I feel like you're fishing for an
I
answer.
know.
No. They all came out. You had said social media marketing.
That might be
So-
more to a young.
That might be important to a younger person. I think that's great. I think that is the lowest hanging fruit. I think most people will do it because it's free. And then you had mentioned Google Ads. Google Ads is huge, right? And now all of this is going to depend on who you're meeting with. If you're meeting with a high D, a dominant driver type person, you don't want to go into all of the details of certain aspects of the marketing. You want them to know, we use a professional photographer, you get the best photos. You're going to get, what's that?
You know Google search?
If it's an older person, they're not going to know what SEO is. They're not going to know what Google AdWords is, right? But if it's a young tech person, yeah, we have a whole Google AdWords division that takes care of our AdWords for us. They take care of our Facebook ads as well. And we have one of the most advanced Facebook AdWords campaigns in all of the West Island. We've partnered with other teams in Montreal to be able to help build out our keyword searches and our lookalike audiences to be able to build out what's called campaigns that have the best possibility of converting. And if those campaigns are converting at a better amount, that means that we're spending your money better because you're paying us, right? You want somebody who knows what they're doing with the money that you're paying them. Of course. And I always like to say, if you spend $100 on Google Ads or $1,000 on Google Ads, you can get the same result if you know what you're doing and you don't know what you're doing, or you can even get a better result with $100 if you know what you're doing, right? People can't argue that. So it's huge that we've been working with the same company for what has been 11 years now, 12 years. We've been working with the same Google AdWords company. Incredible.
Consistency is key.
Yes. Cool. So then we've discussed marketing, we've discussed who we are, we've discussed our numbers. There's a little bit more marketing on the second page here. We do have discussions about staging as well. If you do, so this is one of the pages that I might skip by if they have a beautiful home. Once again, prepare your presentation in advance.
You never skip it?
You never skip it?
Staging.
Really? Why is that?
Because staging is not just about a beautiful home. It's not about beautiful furniture. Staging is about placement also. So I tell people I've seen difference in people doing staging properly, and all the furniture stays the same, but rearranging them, lowering the pictures at the right height, and not having too many knickknacks next to each other.
Yep.
That's what staging. It's not about putting a new couch and new
So
cushions.
a lot of that discussion I'll have with the photo side of things when I'm talking about professional photos. But I do agree with you, actually. I know a couple of people who keep just secondary accessories for the home. So that way, when they go to take photos, they've changed the curtains, they've changed the pillows, they've changed the throw covers, so that they have kind of a flow for the home that wouldn't have necessarily been there. That keeps it a little bit more neutral for people who are looking at it to be able to say, oh yeah, that's not someone else's home, that's my potential new home. So yeah, that is a good point. But I usually do like to point at this to let people know, like, your home is beautiful, right? Normally, if we have to go through staging, the people that we're talking with, we have a whole discussion about, we have a staging company that we work with and we can help with that. Yeah. Cool. So that was a little bit on staging. I don't want to spend too much time on it because most of that is just trying to work with people if they do need staging to get a staging company in for them. And if they don't need staging, then it's mostly going to be for the photos, moving things around and getting them prepared for what the home should look like to be presentable. Cool. The next little bits, giving back. So at Montreal's Elite, we give back to a couple of different organizations. Can people tell me which organizations those are? You're looking at them right now.
I know Don La Rue for sure.
Yep. Don La Rue is one of the organizations that we give back to. So whenever we sell a home, we give a portion of the proceeds of the sale to Don La Rue. Why do we give to Don La Rue?
Tax break?
To make the world a better place.
Because it's a tax break. No.
Okay. It's the right thing to do.
Yes.
Sure. But why specifically Don La Rue? We can give money to cancer. We can give money to COVID relief. We can give money to.
It's a good question.
Because they double our receipt for our tax.
Stop.
Oh my God.
What?
No. So we chose Don La Rue because we searched for organizations that we felt spoke to us and spoke to the core values of the team. And Don La Rue is privately funded. I believe it's 97 or 98% privately funded. So a lot of the decisions that they get to make with the money that comes in are their decisions alone. They're not controlled by the government. They're not, it's not a whole bunch of bureaucracy that you're paying for. The money's going directly to where it needs to go. And what was wonderful was being able to see how they actually organized the organization to have the youth that they help become part of the organization later on. So these homeless youth actually know what homeless youth now need because they were once homeless youth themselves, which is incredible. So that's Don La Rue. Now the Neuro is a new one that we started working with, and our donations work slightly different for that. We don't give proceeds from the sales. We do just lump sum payments periodically. Last year, I forget exactly how much we gave, but it was new, and I believe we still ended up giving over upwards of $1,000 or $2,000 to them. So it was new at that time. We're gonna give more this year. But what's important about the Neuro? Logan, our fearless leader, right? Why we chose the Neuro is because they did such an incredible job with Logan. And if you're talking to a high I, this is a great way to get them to connect with you, right? If you're talking with a D, they don't care. This is not going to be as important to them. We do donate to these organizations, great. But if you want to have a story attached to it, yeah. The Neuro did such incredible work over the last 5-6 years that they were able to go from, not being able to remove the tumor that Logan had to being able to remove the tumor that Logan had and him be back at work in 2 weeks. Like that was the big difference. The risk of being paralyzed and potentially dying went from 70% down to 0.3%. Like it was absurd. So I believe in the Neuro. I donate to the Neuro personally, and the team does as well because of what I've actually seen them do for my best friend. It's incredible. Cool. So, and then the last little bit is just people who have worked with us before. We have a little section here for testimonials. Where else can people go to get testimonials?
Google,
the Googs. And what is our star rating on Google right now? I believe it's
5.
5-star. We got a 5-star rating on Google. So yeah, people will already search us up. We do have some testimonials in here, but we have a bunch of testimonials online. People can check that out afterwards. We do have a frequently asked section and then a recap of the listing presentation. Cool. You've now gone through the listing presentation. You're sitting there. You finished the listing presentation. What happens next?
do you have any other questions regarding this that I can answer for you?
That was in the recap.
Okay.
So you did the recap. You have any other questions? Cool. What happens next?
5% of the way.
Let's
Sign
determine the
up,
value of the house.
No, you have to throw up first.
Let's
Get it out.
throw up
It's
again.
been very tense.
I
It's been
think
very
around
nervous.
5 or 6.
Yeah, give or take. You're gonna want to eat a big meal first. Maybe get some water in halfway through. That's why you get the water. Cool. So no, the next step is
Let's
You haven't
get
done-
started.
Well, if you haven't gone through the property and the pricing, then you want to do that now.
this is where we're gonna go into
I know what
our
it is.
comparables. We want to make sure that they understand what the price of their home should be on the market and what the strategy should be for marketing the home. And then once you're all on the same page with that, you're going to move to the next section, which is the paperwork. We don't use the word contract, it's scary.
It's an agreement.
You can call it an agreement, but I think an agreement is even more scary than paperwork. I think paperwork is just a natural thing you have.
Paperwork has negative connotations though. If I hear paperwork, I'm like, shit.
It's just, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the paperwork for you. So you don't even have to do the paperwork. I'm going to do it. But you don't have to agree to anything. You do have to agree to something. But it's paperwork. It's normal. On paperwork, you agree to things.
You do one of these?
Yeah. So, but yeah, cool. So we've gone over just the general beginnings of the presentation, getting ourselves through the presentation, getting ourselves to the end, and then just quickly how we get to the signature, and then how we get out of the home after having listed.
Walk out the door.
That's it. You just walk out, sign, see you later.
Strut out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Nailed
yeah.
it. Kick the door out.
Got any snacks?
Guys, I live here now.
This is mine.
You don't know what you said. Cool. So I think that's great. Thank you guys so much for participating. Does anybody have any questions about the listing presentation or listing presentations in general? Yeah, you can keep them. Does anybody have any other questions about the listing presentation or listing presentations in general?
Did this test was came we did, well, KW was like within like 3 months step to do the test problem?
Yeah, that would be the disc. So do you know what the 4 dominant personality types are?
Driven. Right?
So D.
I mean, you can send her, yeah.
Yeah, D is driven, it's dominant. Yeah. So those types of people will do what typically?
They'll try and take control.
They're leaders.
They're leaders mostly, yeah. They don't care how something gets done, they care that something gets done and they want it done now. Right? So those are the people we always like to say if they're building IKEA furniture, they're gonna take the instructions, they're gonna throw them away and they're gonna put everything together, and if there's a piece missing, then they'll tape it, they don't give a fuck, and it'll be done. And then if it falls apart a day later, it falls apart a day later, right? That's the bad side of being a D, is they won't think all of the things through, they're just gonna do it, right? But it is important to have Ds because they're the doers. They don't spend so much time thinking about things, they actually go out and do it and figure out as they go. There are personality types that align with those that actually make it so that they don't have things fall apart after they put it all together, it does stay together. Eyes. Eyes are what?
Intellectual?
Interpersonal.
So it is interpersonal.
Interpersonal.
Because you were talking about eyes with numbers, and I was like, okay, maybe it's just intellectual people.
No. They're chatty. So what's important to an eye?
Stories? Like
Yeah.
knowing.
Social aspect.
Yeah, social aspects.
The social aspect is important to an I-type personality. What's the detriment to an I-type personality?
You don't get things done if you spend too much time to talk.
So the I-type personality, if they were building a piece of IKEA furniture, they would be the ones who would want to tell you the story about the last time they built an IKEA furniture and then spend that whole time you should have been building the furniture telling you the story rather than actually building the furniture, right? An S-type personality, what are they?
Surveillance.
One.
Nope.
Systematic.
Yeah, structured systems.
Yeah.
What is the benefit and the detriment to an S-type personality?
Wait, what did you say? It's structural?
Structured, yeah. Structured systems oriented. What is the detriment and the benefit and detriment to an S-type personality?
Did they like follow the step-by-step process?
Yeah, they'll count how many screws, bolts, and nuts they have, and
They'll make sure everything is there. They'll make sure that the system is step by step what they need to do. They are the people that like to have the instructions because there's a way to do something. There is a way that something gets done and it gets done right. And as long as you follow that system and you're in it, you're okay. You can take that person, you can get them, you can go. That's the detriment.
Running in DMC.
S-types are very stubborn. If there's a way for an S-type to do something, you don't want to shift their world. You want to work with them because they're very stubborn. It's very hard to make them change the way that they do something. So that's S. C-types.
conscientious.
I thought it was cognitive.
So I think the disc varies a little bit in the definition of C sometimes, but
Yeah.
it's supposed to be calculated if I'm not mistaken. It's calculated and cautious.
Cautious, that's it.
Yeah.
not conscious.
Calculated, yeah, calculated and cautious. So an S-type personality would be,
Structure oriented.
no, that's an S.
Oh, you just said S, no?
No, a C-type.
I heard S.
Oh, sorry. It's recorded, we'll find out later.
Yeah, we will.
So a C-type is calculated, they need the numbers to be in order. They're very cautious about doing things. They won't do it until everything, they'll plan to plan to plan to plan to plan. Right, yeah. And you'll get-
Accuracy and everything.
Exactly. It needs to be, everything needs to be in a row before they can get going. So you can imagine why that could be detrimental, right? Because if they're planning to plan to plan to plan so that they can plan later to plan more, then nothing got done, right? They're just planning. Nothing ever got done. So they actually really benefit from aligning with the D and actually having a D. Usually you have two dominant personality types. So if you have somebody who has D and C as their personality types, that's usually a very difficult mix of personality types for people to have, and they're a very rare and special breed of person. Yeah, but most people are SIs or ISs. The majority of people are either ISs or SIs. I personally am an SI. Right, so I'm strengths oriented and I'm also very personal. I love our stories. And I love to hear your stories. Yeah.
Do it again too, you can often change.
It's true, as you grow, you change slightly.
We're paying a solid.
That was very SC, I don't know if I was still.
I'd give you more I now.
Yeah. I think
You're
so
more
too.
SI.
Yeah, change
We SI bros?
Why?
I see all your group chats.
Civic SI.
I know how many group chats you got.
I see all your stats.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for the impromptu training and working on this. I look forward to seeing more listing presentations coming up and not having to go on them because you guys are professionals now.
Woo.
Well,
Thank
Thank you very much.
so
Cool.
end the
Good stuff,
live,
guys.
we're gonna re-watch it and we're gonna see if you said S or C.
God, we're not doing that.
I'm convinced you said S.